Video we are going to see how Commando C2000 series L2 plus switch commands are generally used for basic configuration of switch using command line interface CLI. Let's start. Open the putty program. Take the CLI access of the switch. Give the IP address. By default is 192.168.0.1. Open the program. Enter the username admin, password commando. You can see the switch enables. After enabling, you can see the privilege mode configuration of the switch. The universal help command by question mark to configure and know what are the commands available in the switch. Apart from that, you can see the functionality of that command also. So let's start with first very important command, configure terminal. This command will help you to enter the global configuration mode, and the prompt will be switch config. This is the most important command generally used for configuration of the switch. You can see there are a lot of functions here in the switch, like AAA, ARP, authentication, boot, clear, clock, custom, and so on. So in this video we are only going to learn the basic functionality using CLI. So firstly we will see the clear command. This clear command will clear the ARP cache, authentication, GVRP interfaces, lot of clearing. Let us say I want to clear ARP cache. So this will clear all the ARP entry and also clear the dynamic ARP learned by the switch. Then end command. If I go to any of the configuration mode like config terminal and then interface G1, and if I say end, I will go to privilege execution mode directly. So end command is basically used to go back to the privilege execution mode from any of the modes which you are in. Apart from that, there is exit command. So step by step, if you want to go back from any of the modes, let us say from this interface configuration mode, I want to go back. So I will say exit, and this exit command will close the current CLI execution mode and will go to the parent mode, and every mode has an exit command. So if I exit here, I will go to the enable mode. Password will be entered by default for enabling the switch. Then history command. So this history command, I can see the history of the switch. Show history command. I can see the history of the switch. So whatever command I have been typing before this, that commands will be shown. So history command is to specify the maximum command history number for CLI using running console, telnet or SSH services. Every command input by the user will record in history buffer. If all history command exceed configured history number, old one will be deleted from the buffer. Then hostname command. So if I want to give the name to my switch, I will give the command hostname or system name command to modify the hostname of the switch. By default, this is the name of the switch. So if I want to change it to, let us say, commando, so this command to modify this system name or the host name will use to specify the host name for the switch. The command specifies or modifies the host name, and the maximum length of this host name can be 255 characters. So with the system name also same thing can be done. Then router ID, I can have the router ID for my device. So router ID is a 32-bit IP address that uniquely identify a router in an autonomous system. So I can set the router ID, let us say 1.1.1, because it is having L2 plus things. I can set this router ID. So with the help of show router ID command, I can see my router ID which I currently configured. Then use IP DHCP Snooping command. So I will use the IP DHCP Snooping command. To enable the security feature that acts like a security program between untrusted host and trusted DHCP server. The DHCP snooping feature perform the activities like validating DHCP messages received from the untrusted source, like DORA process is followed, and filter invalid messages. So I can validate this configuration by show IP DHCP snooping. If my DHCP server is active, it will show the information of DHCP snooping. Then I can also have the IPv6 auto configured in the switch by giving command IPv6 auto config. So this will automatically configure IPv6 for the switch. So with the help of show IPv6 interface, I can see the allotted IPv6 IP address to this switch VLAN. Then I can also set the gateway for IPv6 address, IPv6 default gateway, and I can give any of the gateway. So this will be my default gateway. So to enable IPv6 based DHCP server for IPv6 DHCP client to get the IP address from the remote DHCP server, I have to give the command to enable this as a IPv6 DHCP server, IPv6 DHCP. And all that can be validated with show IPv6 interface. Then IP service is one of the very important commands to enable disable management access via CLI and telnetting session, SSH session, HTTP, HTTPS sessions. So these commands enable all kinds of management services such as telnet, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS from to get the access of CLI or web GUI. So this is very important command in the switch. So show line telnet will show the telnetting status. So this feature is enabled with uh, session timer 10,000 minutes, history count 128, password retry 50, like that. We can also enable HTTPS. By default, HTTPS, telnet, SSH and SNMP are all disabled. So config terminal IP HTTPS. So this will enable the HTTPS access of the device, and we can verify this with show IP HTTPS. Then we can also use IP session timeout command to specify the session timeout value for HTTP and HTTPS services with when user login into web GUI and do not do any actions after session timeout will be logged out. So we have to go to configuration, give the IP, let us say I want to change HTTP session timeout to 4 minutes. So every 4 minutes HTTP will again restart. You have to again log into this HTTP sessions. So session timeout will be 4 seconds. Then use IPSSH command to generate key files for SSH connection and enable SSH server on the switch. SSH server on the switch support both password and public key authentication. If password authentication is specified by SSH client, then password can be authenticated either locally or via Radius or TechS plus remote authentication server. So you have to go to configuration of the switch, say IP SSH. You can have version 1, version 2 or both version 1 and 2. So this will create regenerate SSH version 2 and version 1 key files, and you can verify it with show IP SSH command. So generally it takes some time because it will be stored in the flash memory. This switch is having numerous functions. So explaining each and every command will be very tedious process. So I will confine myself to some of the very important and key features of the switch. Then after this we will see the line commands, where we can enter the line configuration mode and select the line. The prompt shows as switch configure line. So we can have console line, telnetting line, SSH line. We can check the line, change the line parameters like execution timeouts, password thrash, silent time and other parameters of these lines. with the command. So let us start. SSH access of the switch and change the line parameter. So go to configuration, line. Let us say I want to configure console. Enter. I will go to that line and I can change the parameters like execution timeout. So this execution timeout command to specify the session timeout value for CLI running on the console, telnet or SSH service. When the user login into the CLI and do not do any action after session timeout, the user will be logged out from the CLI session. It basically sets the interval that the command interpreter wait until user input is detected. Set the password intrusion threshold, which limits the number of failed logon attempts. Use this execution timeout command. I can set 0 means no timeout. I will say, let us say 100 minutes. So it will be timeout after 100 minutes CLI sessions. Then password thrash commands to specify the password failed retry numbers for CLI running on console, telnet or SSH line. When user input password to login and authenticate failed, the failed retry number will increase 1. After failed retry number exceed the configured one, let us say I want have 4 retry, so 4 time it will allow, 5th time it will not allow. It will failed retry number exceed the configured one, the CLI will block login for the period of silent time which configured by the silent time. So firstly we will see the password thrash. Let us say I want to have 6 attempts for a user for console line. I can also have for telnetting line and for other lines also. And I use silent time command to specify the silent time for CLI running on console, telnet or SSH service. When user input password to login and authenticate failed, the failed retry number will increase 1. After failed retry number exceed the configured one, the CLI will block login for the period of silent time which is configured by the command silent time. So after the failed login attempt, let us say I want him to wait for 50 seconds. So it will wait, it has to wait for 50 seconds. By default this is disabled or silent time is 0. So I can verify my lines with the command show line, which are used to access this COMMANDO C2000 series switch. So I have configured the parameters for console lines that you can monitor and see here. Then reboot command. This is also very important. This is a software reboot. So if I give the reboot, the switch will again restart. Then the next command is enable. Configure terminal, enable password. So enable password command to edit the password of each privilege label for enable authentication. So I can have password, privilege or secret. So let us say I want to enable password, and let us say password commando. So this password will be asked when I will enable the line now. So this is, if I enable the line, this password commando will be asked. I can also use privileges to set the privilege for accessing any of the lines. So use username command to add new user account or delete user account or edit an existing user account. By default username is admin and password is commando, so I can change that. Let us say I want username ABC, and after with privilege level of maximum 15 and secret commando. So I have created a username, and I can validate this username by giving the command show username. So secret is set for admin as well as ABC login. So if I have to log in from any of the lines, I can use for admin or ABC both. I can also delete the admin user. Then most important command in any of the troubleshooting is ping command. Ping and then IP address. Let us say I want to ping to. So ping is packet internet gopher that traces the connection between two network nodes by sending packets to a host and measure round trip time. Use ping command to do network ping diagnostic. Ping command is mainly used for sending ICMP query packets from switch to remote devices, and also for check the accessibility between switch and the remote devices. So the command syntax is like ping, the IP address or host name, and then the count. We can also have the count for this. So I can set the count. Let us say by default 4 packets are sent. I can send make it 10, 20, 30 as per my requirement. Then another major troubleshooting command is trace route, which is very important, which discovers the IP route along with the packets were forwarded by sending the IP packet to the target host and back to the device. The trace route page shows each hop between the device and the target host and the round trip time to reach each hop. So we will trace route. Let us say 8.8.8.8. So this network is unreachable. Let us try with another network. This is also unreachable. So I have to put the route to reach those networks. This is network reachable. So use traceroute command to do network trace route diagnostics. So traceroute command is for testing the gateways through which the data packet travel from the source device to destination's device. So to check the network accessibility and locate the network failure, we can use traceroute with IP address or host name, and max hop we can have from 2 to 255 in this switch. So traceroute, and I can have max hop and set this value. Let us say I want max hop 10. So 10 maximum hops will be used to trace this IP address. Show CPU utilization will show how how much CPU is utilized for this switch right now. Then show ARP will show the R entries for connected ARP cache. So this will show the ARP entries for VLAN 1 with IP address, MAC address and the status static or dynamic. Show info. Show info command will show the system name, system location, system contact details, MAC address, default IP address, subnet mask, loader version, loader date, firmware version, firmware date, and system object ID and system uptime. Then show IP interface. By default, VLAN 1 is the interface which is created, so that will be shown. You can have multiple IP interfaces in this switch. Then show IP DHCP snooping. So this will show whether DHCP is snooping is enabled or not, and the remote ID. Then show memory statistics. So you can see it is not properly shown. You can use the terminal length program. You can set it to max value. 0 means no limit. And you can also set the max value like 24. The show version command will show the software version for COMMANDO C2000 series L2 plus switch. So the software is SoldierOS version 1.7. Use system contact command to modify the contact information. So I can modify the contact information. So the administrator responsible for system troubleshooting and maintenance contact information can be set. Say any of the number. So in show info, now this info will be shown. Then system location command to modify the location information of the switch, and it specifies the system location. So I can have this system location also. Let's say USA, and show info will show this information. Then we can also set the clock. By default, clock is 30 plus 12. By default, this is a current clock because it is taking the clock from the connected device directly. So we can manually also set this clock by the command clock set. Let us say I want to set this time. December 31st, 2023. 2022. So if I enter that time will be set. Then I can use the copy command to copy backup config, flash, running config, startup config, tech support and TFTP to any of the destination location like FTP, TFTP, flash locations. Then the very dangerous command in the switch is delete. You can delete backup config, you can delete flash also with this command. Then startup config and runtime firmware image with this delete command. So use it very carefully. You can also use the show flash command to see the system files which are created. You can use the SSL command to generate the 2048-bit RSA private key. So it will take some time, and in show flash we can see that RSA private key. So I can set like this IT switch and common name IT, email ID, support @commando networks.com. So show SSL will show this information. The main command here is show tech support. So from show tech support I can see all the shows in the switch at one go. So this is also a very important feature or tool with this device, where you can see all the current running happening information of the switch at one go. You don't have to give 50 or 100 command to analyze the switch. So you can see at one go all the shows of the switch. So you can see all the level, all the ports, interface and DHCP Snooping. Then you can see the cable diagnostics, rate limit, DOS protection. Apart from that, this is very helpful features to know each and everything of your switch at one command. Basically this switch is having various commands like GVRP, host name, IP. I can set the IP of the switch. This IP will be for route. I can set this route for particular destination network. Let us say I want to set this route. I want to set the route for particular destination 192.168.1.0 network I want to reach, and the let us say destination is 0. Destination IP is 0.100. So this route is set. Show IP route will show the routing table of the switch. So this entry will be there. Let us ping to this. So it start pinging with 100, and let us try with 1.1. So this way very easily you can create the routes to reach particular destination network. So this will help to troubleshoot or can give your network a flying edge, as this is having this routing L3 function. And you can also create the DHCP server with the help of command config t, and you can go for IP DHCP. You can go for DHCP server, and you can create the multiple servers for each VLANs with the help of this switch. Thank you.